It's not just the Montreal Canadiens making trades. The Vancouver Canucks have made a deal with the Edmonton OILERS earlier this morning. Now, we have to establish the parameters here. The OILERS and the Canucks, yes, they are allowed to make trades because the AHL trade deadline was actually today. However, in the event that either of these guys get called up, that's actually not allowed here. If the Oilers make the playoffs, they're not allowed to use their new player in the postseason. In the Vancouver Canucks, same thing. Although, I do believe it's probably unlikely the Vancouver Canucks even make the playoffs this year. Hot take. But let's take a look at the trade. GM Patrick Allvin announced the Vancouver Canucks have acquired forward Jayden Grubbe from the Edmonton Oilers in exchange for Josh Bloom. So Grubbe for Bloom over here. From earlier this morning, before the AHL trade deadline came and passed. Martone goes out there and gives us the scoop as to how it actually works. Yes, NHL teams can make trades after the trade deadline, but with strict limitations. Players acquired after the deadline are ineligible to play in any remaining regular season games or playoff games for their new team, making such moves rare and usually for future considerations, rights to unsigned players, or minor league AHL depth. Here is what NHL Rumours on ProHockeyRumors.com went out there and said, 2 key details about post-deadline trades. Any player traded after the deadline cannot play in the playoffs. Post-deadline trades often involve minor league players, draft picks, or the rights to unsigned prospects. Teams can still add players via waivers or by signing free agents, although those players are also subject to the same playoff eligibility restrictions. Trades can still occur to prepare for the expansion draft, such as moving rights to players. Essentially, the trade deadline is a cutoff for activating new players for the current season's playoffs, not a complete halt to all front office roster transactions. So, these guys, Jayden Grubbe and Josh Bloom, are the newest members of the Vancouver Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers. I am kind of intrigued, though, to see Josh Bloom get sent away from Vancouver so early. Now I say early, like he's 22 years old. Like, yeah, he's already decently old here. But Josh Bloom was a former Buffalo Sabres draft pick, drafted 95th overall back in 2021. He was acquired by the Vancouver Canucks back in the pretty notable trade on February 26, 2023 for Riley Stillman. And I remember it was a pretty big deal to see Stillman get moved because Stillman was literally like the worst defenseman to ever suit up in a Vancouver Canucks jersey in the 2020s. He was so bad, so terrible, and I, along with many Canucks fans, were absolutely in love with Patrick Allvin because of the fact he was able to get rid of Riley Stillman. Josh Bloom came over in exchange. It didn't even matter if Josh Bloom was good or whatever. He was just the replacement for Riley Stillman roster-wise. But he didn't really end up doing all too well. He started out his 23-24 with the Abbotsford Canucks, but then got sent down to the Kalamazoo Wings and finished that season off with the Saginaw Spirit in the OHL. Back in that time frame, he was 20, so of course he was able to go out there as an over-point-per-game guy. Give it one more season, and Bloom plays another 2 games with the Abbotsford Canucks, getting 1 assist in the process. He also was a near point-per-game guy with the Kalamazoo Wings in the ECHL once more, thus cementing his status as a player who's pretty good for that league, but just not good enough in the AHL. This occurred again this season when he had 19 games with the Abbotsford Canucks and only 1 goal, a struggling Abbey Canucks team, by the way, which did need a lot of support. Josh Bloom was not really able to provide much of that for the team. And then you have yourselves the ECHL stint, wherein Josh Bloom has gone out there with 28 points in 19 total games. So he's been very good for Kalamazoo. He's getting traded over to the Edmonton Oilers, and in exchange, the Vancouver Canucks are getting Jayden Grubbe, a guy who technically is older. He's 23 years old, Bloom is 22, although Bloom is younger by only a few months here. Grubbe is 6'3", 201, a right-handed center right wing, drafted initially by the New York Rangers in the 65th overall spot back in 2021. Let's take a look at the trade history here and see how Grubbe ended up with the Edmonton Oilers. Turns out he was acquired in a trade for a 5th-round pick all the way back on May 31st, 2023. So a minor trade here between the Oilers and the Rangers allowed Jayden Grubbe to settle in with Edmonton's organization. He was a stud for the Red Deer Rebels as a 3-year captain for that team, and was over a point per game in 22-23 with that same season. The next few years saw him play in the AHL, getting 14 points in 60 games each year, before going down to the ECHL this season, getting 19 points in 28 Fort Wayne Komets games. At the end of the day, this isn't really a trade where either of these guys have significant NHL potential, but it is a move that you could pay attention to and keep your eyes out for, because Bloom and Grubbe will be suiting up for their new teams in the ECHL to finish off this season. Heck, if things go really well, maybe they get an AHL call-up and maybe they start playing for Abbotsford and or Bakersfield. It's obviously not that big of a deal, but still, we gotta go out there and make a video about it. This is kind of funny. I thought Bloom was supposed to be good. Now we're trading him for a guy in the ECHL. Josh Bloom is also a guy in the ECHL. So yeah, I think Canucks fans may still have been remembering that Riley Stillman trade and had a decent level of hype for Josh Bloom, even though that's probably not the appropriate way to evaluate this player at this stage. With all that said, though, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Vancouver Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers making a post-trade deadline trade for ECHL talent, Jayden Grubbe for Josh Bloom? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9. Both of these guys' contracts expire at the end of the year too, by the way, so it doesn't really look like they're going to have any long-term future with these teams. And bye.